API here, an application program interface that Zoom made connections with YouTube, that it's allowing within Zoom to redirect to YouTube. And I know that that is working. Perfect. Okay. So, Anastasia, do you want to talk about being our illustrious TA and grader for the class, give people feedback and talk about in the future?
Yes. So I do want to talk about assignment one and the upcoming assignment two. So first for the assignment one, everyone that did it, don't worry about your grade. If you got anything below 100, there will be so many assignments that you will be able to pull your grade up. But these assignments are very straightforward. If you follow the instructions that are provided to you by our lead TA Lily, you will get 100. Just quite literally follow it step by step to a T. And if you are unclear about something, reach out to me and like text me, ask me, I will clarify. Don't just assume that like you should do something one way rather than another because you will get points off just for that and it might be like a silly mistake. The biggest issue I've seen so far, and I've just finished grading all the assignments, was the formatting on the text. So first of all, the AI summary doesn't need to be the entire email you receive. It needs to be a few bullet points that are usually at the top of the email you receive that summarize the point of your meeting. I've seen a lot of people submit pages of the AI summary. I don't need to see all of that. And unfortunately, you will get points off for that in the future. For this one, I didn't clarify, so I didn't take off points. But just for the future, it's just a few bullet points. Four to six bullet points is more than enough from that email. Also, please make sure that when you're submitting your documents, like your files, your folders, that you follow the formatting that's provided to you on Blackboard. So don't just put Zoom individual assignment or Zoom group assignment. There's a specific way to do it. You have to put your names, you have to put the dates, um, capitalization and spelling. I mean, guys, please just make sure that everything's spelled right and that everything's capitalized. If not, I do have to take off points, and that's such a silly thing to get points taken off for. And there's a few people that struggle just technologically. Technology isn't perfect, and I was in touch with those people. I'm here to help. I'll always be available to help. But if you kind of just brush things off, then I'm afraid you will not do well in the class. Assignment two that's coming up, I did review a few assignments that have already been submitted. For those of you that have already have like started at least something, thank you, because if I see like a big issue, I'll reach out to your group and tell you to fix it. Those of you that have not started, I'd recommend starting it as soon as you can, like tonight or tomorrow, because it is a group assignment. You cannot do it by yourself. That's not an option for this one. And I think that's it for assignment two. If you have any questions at all, reach out to me. Text or email works fine. I'll respond as soon as I can.
Any questions for our illustrious TA reaching out? Okay. And you'll have it posted by assignment one by Wednesday. Is that it?
Yes, the grades will be posted by Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. So I appreciate you that you do such a great job, and also it's timely rather than, I think, if you could, so people will know why they got points taken off. Anastasia.
The main reasons people got points taken off were first of all formatting. So for example, some people just wrote Zoom assignment, not including their name, not formatting the name of the MP4 file as you were specifically told to. A few people, I know there was one person who I think got confused between a cloud recording and a local recording and just submitted two local recordings, which I understand that's a very acceptable mistake, but you had time to ask me. Please do ask me. So at that point, I'm afraid you do get points taken off. So it's little mistakes like that that fully could have been avoided.
Okay.
And if
And
it's a
what about,
mistake that if it's a mistake that I can see the person does not understand what to do, I reach out to them. So if you
perfect.
haven't heard from me, just
Okay.
be more
And
careful.
how many people had problems with YouTube?
With YouTube live streaming, I think there were five or six people that had problems.
And did you, and the issues were what, were
I
YouTube's
know
or?
it was YouTube live stream. It was a YouTube error from their side. Two of them I know got resolved. The other four or three other people that had that issue, I've reached out to, or I think one of them I haven't, so I'll reach out to you. Um,
Okay.
but also,
Yes.
if you had that issue, please do reach out to me first if you can and tell me if it's resolved. If it's not, we'll kind of troubleshoot off that.
Okay. Okay. And sometimes it's important to document it. Why?
Well, quite frankly, it's proof that you did it. You did the assignment, but technology, you can't control it. I can't control it. It's just a mistake that happens. It's a glitch
Or
in the
it's just an
system.
error.
Yeah.
One is important to do it, and two, sometimes there are resolutions, but if you don't document it, you can't escalate it as much to approach it. So let's do a couple other things right now on the assignments that I want to talk about. So let me share my screen. So right here, if I look at it, Drew, what am I looking? Do you see my screen, Drew?
Yeah, you're on the YouTube live stream.
Okay, I'm on the YouTube live stream. So you know that that is working for us and everyone looks great. And then, so the question becomes, and this is for the whole class, is why even do it? What could this be used? Drew, what's your major?
Economics.
Economics. So what in the world, what is the economic value to be in Zoom and then also to stream live to YouTube? Can you think of any business reasons for that? Because that's really what I want everybody to do. Not only know how to do it, but what's the business application? You have a clue?
If you have like a panel of different economists and a moderator, then you can have that on the Zoom and but then live stream it to YouTube so that everybody can watch it.
Right. And you could even have, if you were trying to even be profitable, you could have like a group in Zoom that you charge for, right? That they could meet the famous economist, ask him direct questions with voice, and then you have another group that you say, hey, they want publicity. And then your channel could also have a number of subscribers, right? You could even make money from your channel. Plus, it would be you're being known as having a way in which to have great guest speakers come to your sessions. So you could have both. Do you have can you enter YouTube live anonymously? Can somebody
It's
view YouTube live anonymously? Drew?
I think so,
Mm,
right?
yeah. Can you do that with Zoom? No, you have to have an invitation. You could restrict it, right? Now you could restrict YouTube live and only give it, make it unlisted or make it private and only share it with certain people. But the advantage is if people wanted to see, hey, how is Drew's seminars or webinars or talk with the experts, they could peek in and see what it was, and they wouldn't have to say, "Oh, I need to authenticate myself." So those are advantages. Okay, great. So if I let me go back. Okay. You see, Drew, you see where I am. And look what you see here. So let's go to what's due. So I see here YouTube Live, class announcements. Make sure everybody knows this. Put it in your calendars, right? In class announcements that the exam has been moved to March 4th. It will be in person in the School of Business. So please put that in your calendars when that comes up. So let's look at what's due. Under the what's due, you can see before the class was this um, audit assignment and hardware and the quizzes. And we talked about IT basically in the university. And then for this Wednesday, you see we have the digital assignment, the tech guide software. We'll talk about that on Wednesday, and we'll relate to this part. Find out how much RAM and secondary storage space you have. Okay, so let me just go back to what's due. So I go to the audit assignment instructions. What's the difference then, Luca, between group generally assignment 2 and assignment 1? In general, you have an idea?
The main difference is that one's individual and then the other one's a group project, right?
Right. And why is this group? Is that we're basically, first of all, practicing what we learned before in assignment 1 and making sure it works. 2, what I want you to do is their group functions in Zoom that you need a group for, right, Luca? If you're going to do a poll, you have to, somebody has to create the poll, somebody has to launch the poll, and somebody has to take the poll. The person that creates the poll can't take the poll, it's for others. And then you need somebody to analyze it as with. So what I encourage everyone to do is to make sure that you read through this and know how to do all these features before you're with your group. So when you record, it is coherent and it's a lively discussion rather than fishing around figuring out what to do. The other thing you want to make sure you have is assign one person in your group that has a YouTube, can live stream to YouTube to make the invitation to the Zoom and also to be able to live stream. So here you have all the features of what you need to do, along with knowing about what our co-hosts, and in your talk, not only promoting someone, but what I would like you to do is talk about why is this an important feature and how can it be used in a business setting. So talk about all of those. And again, you're using the same thing where you're going to be sharing it with live cloud recording and you're going to the audit group. So I want to go to the audit section. And Anna, I call you Anna, right? Instead of Anna. Anna, what's the difference between the audit section and the regular section in terms of the roles of students?
In the audit section, students are teaching assistants, I believe, that can like edit and input content.
Right. So one of the things we talked about, the least privilege, the principle of least privilege is you need to have the ability to do your task well. And in order to do that, it depends on your role. In the student area, you are not able to edit. You are not able to change any student's grades. This is what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to take your own quizzes. You're allowed to look at your own assignments as well. In the audit section, I've promoted everyone to teaching assistants. So what's the advantage to that? You said that, Anna, is that you can edit. What's the disadvantage of having that responsibility?
Some people could edit work that's not theirs by accident.
By accident or intentional, right? The computer doesn't know if it's accidental or intentional, right? So that's able. So when we go to assignment groups, and this is what, Anastasia, what I wanted you to look at is when you looked at group 0 under Zoom group assignment. And what I would like you to do is, that's great when Anastasia told you that it should be Zoom group assignment. You're not the sample, right? And in this case, this needs to be changed,
Yeah,
Anastasia, right?
I'm gonna check it out again. I changed that earlier, but it didn't reload. But I'll check that
Yeah.
out again.
So one of the things here is, why do I do the requirement? Let me just go back to the assignment under group individual, and I'll go into 0. If you see here, what we're doing as a standard, Anna, is we're looking when we do any file naming, is we want to make sure that it conveys meaning. Always, and sometimes, and this is missing too, is we want to have the date. And in this case, we can see Isa forgot. In this case, there should be a time, your name, and the name of the file, what it is. So this is Zoom individual. It's MP4. As soon as I see MP4 and I know that we're using Zoom, I know automatically, Anna, you're in a roll. Is this a cloud recording or is this a local recording, Anna?
It's a local recording because the output is an MP4.
Right, the output is MP4. Also, if you looked, if this was on a test, then Anna, you would know then, if I ask what's the difference, you would know that it was stored and you can upload it and download that individual file. This one, even though it says even Zoom cloud recording, Anna, if you didn't even see that this said cloud recording, how could you know that this was a cloud recording rather than a MP4, rather than local?
The link is linked to Miami Zoom, so it's assumed that it's in Miami's cloud, like their Zoom
Right.
cloud.
Exactly. Perfect. 100%. And then it has, and notice it says recording, and then it has share, and then it has this enormous text that I have no idea what it means, right? That it has it. So this Miami.Zoom US is because we are using Zooms of that University of Miami has subscribed to and has that permission. And a lot of times, since they're enterprise higher ed, they get all the features that you would not get in the free version. And then I know you're on a roll, Anna. I know that this is streamed live to YouTube because it says here YouTube. It has my watch and then it has the name. And then we can see here what was showcased in the takeaway. Perfect. And then that was nice, Anastasia, that you added additional. Okay, everybody clear about that? Now, if I go back to my assignment groups and go to my group example, right? I'm going to go, this, everybody should have a folder, right? And I think we have that, right, Anastasia? I think everybody, we have, everybody has this folder, even though it's not filled. It can be filled on by Wednesday, right before class. And in this one, she'll fix this, but in this one, what I like you to do is and this is not in the sample, but it's going to be changed here. And can I change this? Even though Anastasia did this, Anastasia, I'm going to go in and edit. Could you edit this? Beckham, could you edit this? This is group 0. Could you edit group 0?
Yes, because it's the
Yes.
audit.
Yeah, it's audit. So everybody could do everything. So I'm going to do it for her because this is new. What I want is I want to add this. So what would this be then, Beckham? This was what I want is I want to make sure that you list when the team members are present, even some of you that have started, put who was the host and who live streamed. You get that, Anna? So basically, make sure that we know who that person was. So in this case, we know all these people were here. And in this case, who hosted, and who live streamed. And of course, everyone is going to contribute and everyone will share screens plus show faces and audio and make it as a tutorial. And then in this case, you showcase this, the AI companion as the quick recap, your takeaways, and what were the challenges? What did you find difficult? How did you solve that solution? So do you see that, Anastasia? So that's the one thing that I just changed.
Yeah, and I'm changing the other things right now.
Right. And also, if you could be so kind and change it also for K as well.
Yep, we'll do.
Thank you so much. Okay. Any questions on the audit, the assignments? We're clear. Everybody's good. Raphael, how are you doing?
I am good. Yes,
Okay.
I'm listening to all the
Oh.
instructions.
Good. All right. Perfect. So next, what I want to share with you, so everybody knows what's due on Wednesday. So let's go over a little bit of more on the text. Let me share. And I want to go back to the audit, the regular section. Everybody knows. So everybody knows where I'm going to get my advance. We're going to have on Wednesday, we're going to have assignment 3, which will add to this, which I'm combining. Here, you notice I have individual and group. Since we have more experience, the next assignment I'm going to make individual, Anna, and it's also going to be a group one. So there'll be part 1 and part 2. And the next assignment we'll talk about is, are there any other tools we can use to document, making tutorials, document our issues? Because I think that is really crucial. When we're dealing with new technologies, there's always going to be issues. What's going to be important is how do we document those issues? And also, how do we create tutorials to show others how to do all of this new technology? So we had that. We went through that. We talked about the Wiley reading and adaptive. Let me go back to what's due. So what is due here? They're talking about, in this case, we had the hardware. Wednesday, we're going to do just software. So I want to spend some more time on hardware and thinking about why hardware now is even more important than it used to be. So if I think about why hardware is really crucial, is really the advent of AI. Everybody has used, I imagine, ChatGPT or some other chatbot. And one of the things is, if you think about it, Beckham, have you used ChatGPT? How often do you use it?
Of course, probably a couple times a week.
And when you basically prompt it, and we'll be talking about prompting, how do you prompt properly? But the way that you get the best, right now, the best way to get the best information and the best answers are if you prompt it in a way that is correct. And you can even prompt, I can even prompt maybe 10 or 20 times to get better answers. You can tell that sometimes it's biased, some things it doesn't do well. But how long does it take you to, once you prompt something, Beckham, how long does it take for you to get an answer?
It's almost instant.
It's open. So that idea of instant, how do you think they get such an instance there? Is now they're creating data centers. Can you imagine? They have, what do you use? What bot do you use? What chat bot do you use, Beckham?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. They have over 1 billion subscribers. Can you imagine 1 billion subscribers and basically ingesting all the internet and using models to basically do generative AI, which means that they're just predicting what you're going to, what words are going to say. In order to do that, they have to create hardware and buy hardware and deal with companies like NVIDIA to get that hardware to work quickly. So if I go to NVIDIA, have you heard of that, Beckham? This
I think you mentioned it last
right.
class.
So this is a company that is basically, I'm going to turn off cookies, but this is basically a company called NVIDIA. And March 16th through 19th, you can see, it's interesting. This guy right here is the CEO, Jensen. You see Jensen, he's everywhere. AI to supercharge productivity, create new jobs. Basically, if I look at products, notice some of the products are called data centers. Some are embedded systems, gaming. You see this where it says graphic cards and GPUs. And if I think about a GPU is basically a graphical processing unit, where in the book it really talks about CPUs. He creates then laptops, accelerate, and look at his laptops, accelerate professional AI and visual computing from anywhere, networking, professional workstations. These are also hardware. And then gaming, a data center. So basically, he's creating buildings, huge buildings. And he's creating the platform. And this is basically, when you think about a chip design, that accelerate deep learning, machine learning, high performance computing. And he is then creating, you see all these? These are basically weighing tons. And basically, this is where like ChatGPT, OpenAI exists under these hardware and these data centers. So let's say OpenAI creates a data center, Microsoft creates a data center. They're using most likely his hardware, his chip design to make it go so speedily. And it's amazing that it's beyond belief here that there and other chip makers are going into this business of basically doing what they call an accelerated server platform. Remember when we were saying, Anna, we're doing cloud computing, it's saved on a server? This is an accelerator server that all of our chats can do it well, and basically calculation and speed up training and networking. So this is what they call the AI supercomputing platform. And he is the leader and one of the richest people in the world. The world now is discovering now that production. And their production is called then GPUs instead of CPUs that take the software that speeds up that work performance. So when I go back to this hardware and I go to Wiley, remember one of the chapters in Wiley was network, introduction to hardware, why the hardware is becoming so relevant. If I think about it, this CPU right here does all the number crunchings. Beckham, what computer are you using right now?
I'm on
What
a
type?
MacBook.
You're on a MacBook. All your computing, you have a microprocessor in that, and all the computing that you do when you're using a spreadsheet or even when you're using a PowerPoint, all of that is done on what they call this microprocessor. And the microprocessor, we talked about it last time, has the way in which it computes is basically it has this arithmetic logic unit that does all the calculations. And whenever have you ever used Beckham Excel?
Yes, I have.
Right. Whenever you use Excel, the copy of that Excel goes into something called primary storage or main memory. When you save your sheet, it goes to secondary storage. So when you think about the primary storage, that is called many times your primary storage, where what you calculate is done there. Primary storage is much quicker than secondary storage. Everybody here? Primary storage is much quicker than secondary storage. Primary storage now, Beckham, is very expensive. And what's your major, Beckham? Again?
I'm studying business management.
So anytime anybody's using any times in business management, when you're going to have to do any calculations, it's done in primary storage. And because of AI, primary storage, or sometimes we call it RAM, is very expensive now. It's in short supply. Why? Because things like NVIDIA, all these data centers, all these chatbots that need to get the data quickly, what do they need in order to calculate? They need this RAM. So it's extremely expensive, much more expensive than it was a couple of years ago. Because really, when you think about it, the world is like second nature using ChatGPT and others. And that second storage is evolved. So if I look at, let me just go to my PowerPoint. And you have your PowerPoints on your way that I can do it. And let me just look at this. This was from Technology, the hardware, that I think about the hardware is we think about the hardware consisting of our central processing unit, our primary storage, our secondary storage, our input, our output, and communications. And what's important here is we have things, the computer hierarchy, where we have our wearables now, right? Now, even AI pins, we have a number of things that are going to be basically wearables on AI to tell me health. I have my tablets, my laptops, my microcomputers, my mainframes, and my supercomputers. But what is key here that I want to make sure that everybody understands is my central processing unit then consists of my microprocessor, my control unit. And you can think of a control unit as basically for data flows. It's like my cop. It directs it. My arithmetic logic unit is for computation. And the inputs from my CPU are then from my RAM that we talked about, and it's going to travel, and then it's going to control it, and then my ALU, my arithmetic logic unit. So just put in your notes there that this is, then if I wanted to do this, this is going to be my ALU that I have. This is my control, and here are my registers. So if I think about it, my primary storage is what I call it's volatile. It basically will stay when I compute, but if I turn off my machine, my RAM will be empty. So what I have to do, either the software does it or others, it saves it to my secondary storage. And you'll see, what else do I want? And you'll see then I have my primary, my regular storage, my secondary storage. Now, when I think about memory, this is what you need to know too. You need, and you can even see this if you do the PowerPoints, you can even see that there's some notes there that you can see. You can see the definitions of the notes here where you have what a bit is, which is either, a bit is basically how the computer runs right now. It's either off or on. It's zeros and ones. And a byte is basically 8 of those bits, most of the time. And it really is equivalent to 1 character. So if I look at Lucas, your first character is what in your name is an L, that would have 8 bits. There's a symbols there. You don't need to know it, but basically the way it's called, like an ASCII table, basically for L is a pattern of 8 zeros and ones. U is a pattern of 8 zeros and 1. C is a pattern 8 zeros and 1. And the computer then interprets it. Luckily, we don't have to do the interpretations. And then we can think about a kilobyte is around 1,000 bytes. It's really 1,024. A megabyte is basically a million. A gigabyte is, when we think about it, is a billion. And we go on to a terabyte, which is a trillion, and a petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. You can see. And do you think we're going to use all of this? Of course we are. People are even trying to figure out, where are we going to save all this information? But this is something that you need to know for the exams. And basically we talked about the primary storage being a way that we can think about is main memory. They use both types. And then there's the register memory. There's the cache memory that's just immediately. Most of the time when I'm using PowerPoint, the information is in RAM. And ROM, when I think about it, stands for read-only memory. And that is what we call non-volatile. And RAM is volatile. What does that mean? It means that RAM, once the machine is turned off, it will be erased. ROM means it will never be erased. ROM is just the portion of computer memory that holds instructions to get your computer started, or to get your phone started, or to get your tablet started. So in this case, these are the parts of your main memory. And when we look at prices, we know today, even more than ever, primary memory is very expensive. So my question to you is, who cares? Right, Ashley? Who cares? Well, how much? First of all, we got to figure out how much RAM we have and how much secondary storage we have. So if I go to share, and I go to minimize this and go to our regular content and look at what's due for Wednesday. Did you see that, Ashley? It says, find how much. Can you read this for me, Anastasia? My voice is for miscellaneous.
1 second, sorry. Zoom's glitching on my
Okay.
computer a little bit.
Can you
Yes.
read this for me? Are you
Find out how much RAM and secondary storage, SSD plus HDD space your computer has.
okay? So first of all, that's what everybody read that. Lucas, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. So this is what I want. Since it's due on Wednesday, why don't we do it now? Get that homework out of the way. What do you think, Lucas?
Get to it. Do the homework now.
So let's do it now. So let's do it together. So now what the question is in your computer that you're using now, how much RAM do you have and how much hard disk space you have? Everybody understand? Victoria, you understand the question? I'm not asking for the answer yet. So how do you find it? Sometimes you know, other times, what do you think, Beckham, is an easy way to find out?
You can always just look it up or ask one of the chat bots you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's what I would do. What do you have? You have a MacBook? What do you have,
I
Beckham?
think it's a MacBook Air, maybe.
Okay, so ask it. So everybody do that. Ask whatever type of computer you have, right, Lindsay? How do you find how much RAM you have on that computer? Because you just don't want to say, how much computer RAM do I have? It doesn't know. The more specific you make the prompt, the better it is. I have this type of computer. I want to find out how much RAM. How do I find out how much RAM and hard drive space I have? Everybody understand? I want you to do it now. Take a moment. And raise your hand when you find it. And then we'll figure out who cares. Okay. So Drew, how much do you have?
I have 8 GB of RAM,
Okay.
and then it says I have 700 GB of hard storage.
Okay. 8 and 700. So what
Yeah.
is larger? Which one, RAM or storage?
Storage.
Storage. So always on your computers, you'll have what, Drew? Less RAM
Less RAM than storage.
than storage. So we know that
Yeah.
number one. Who has more than 8? Beckham, how much do you have?
I have 16,
16. So you have double Drew. And how much hard disk?
512.
512. Okay, so you have a little bit less. Who else? Sully, what do you have?
I have 16 and a terabyte.
And a terabyte. Okay.
Yeah.
So 16 and terabyte. So everybody should find that out so you can put that in your notes there that you have it. Now what we have, how much do you have, Anna? And a record. Who else?
I have 32 gigabytes of RAM and then 2 terabytes of HDD.
Okay, what kind of computer do you have, Anna?
I have a Dell laptop.
She has a Dell laptop. So she has double, right, what Sully has, right? So she has 32 gig. And she has how much? She has 2 terabytes rather than 1. And some people have 512. So who cares? Everybody understand the question? Because on the test, it's nice to figure out, Lindsay, okay, I memorized all this. I have 8 gigabytes. Who cares? And why do I want to know? And why is this going to be good for business? So what did we say in this case, Beckham, is we said what? When we're having large spreadsheets with a lot of data, you think we want to have less RAM or more RAM to do all the calculations?
You want to have more.
You want to have more, right? And if I'm doing, for instance, Anna, what is your major?
Economics and global business.
Economics, right? And she's wanting to do some forecasting of markets, right? How much data does she need? She needs loads of data, right? And she's going to do this and she's going to do forecasting models. And let's say in the beginning, you're doing in Excel. So what does Excel do between Beckham and Anna? Beckham has 16 and he says, hey, it's not 8. Anna has 32. What's the advantage of Anna versus Beckham? When they do the calculations, where is it all going to do? A copy of it from storage is going to go into RAM. And if there's not enough space, Beckham, it's going to have to keep on exchanging it, only take bits at a time. Of course, Beckham, it's going to be what? Slower. Sometimes when it's a complicated models, it may say it's going to run and run and run, and you can't do it with 16. You need 32. Everybody understand? And then in the storage, why does she need such large storage compared to yours, Beckham? In the way that she may have large data sets that she may want to store locally. And she can even do this if she has, listen to this, if she has all her data on her 2 terabytes, she has 32 gig of RAM, Anna. Do you need the internet to use Excel?
Like in general? Or
To do the calculations?
I think so.
No,
No.
because you have it all there, right? You have your Excel, you'll load up your Excel. And where is it going to be? Your Excel may be residing in your hard drive. A copy of it's going to be into where? RAM. You'll take your data, and you don't actually physically, Excel knows to take as much as it can into RAM, and then it will then do the calculations, and you don't even have to be getting that data from the internet. So sometimes when you're on a plane or a place where you don't have it, you can do some of the calculations. You got it? So it's almost like, remember local recording? It's like that we have it together. So the idea here, Beckham, if you and Anna were together in the team, you may say, Anna may say, we need a new lab and we need to get 64 gig of RAM and 4 terabytes of data. Or what Anna may say is we can do what we call a cluster and we can connect all our laptops together, combine all its RAM, all the hard drive space, and work on one task. Right now, what are we doing? We're having one computer work on one task. But that's done. And then guess what, Anna? You say, that's not fast enough. Then you could go to the cloud and something like Amazon or Microsoft or Google, and you say, you know what? We want to rent out some of your computers that are much bigger than ours, and we just have a project that takes 3 months. We don't want to invest in the hardware. We'll use it over the cloud. But what's the problem with that? Is what? That we need internet access to do that. Is that clear? Does that clarify it? The idea, does that make it sense, Beckham? The idea of why somebody would say to you, why do I need more RAM? And then people get confused, but they say, Beckham, what do you have? What did you have? Did you have a terabyte? Beckham?
16. Oh, of the storage space,
Storage.
512.
512. And people get confused when you ask them how much memory you have. People get confused between the 512 and the 16. And you can explain to them, if you're going to be your consultant, those are completely different. Sometimes you don't need as much storage, but sometimes you do. But I definitely need large amounts of RAM to do the calculations. And then you can use different places. You all use external storage all the time, like OneDrive or Apple or basically Google Drive. Those are what? External storage. But they're external storage from what? They say external storage. They're even external to your own laptop or your own computer. So we've all done. So Noam, what do you have? How much RAM and external storage? Noam, do you hear me? Does he hear me? Yes, no?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
much
What was the
RAM?
question again?
How much RAM and external storage do you have on your machine?
I have 8 GB of RAM.
Okay. So in terms of any types of forecasting, it would be you can just do the basics of basics. And some software we'll get into next week software. Some software that you buy or you use will have requirements. Norman said in order to use this software, like trading software, you need a minimum of, let's say, 32 gig. Because
Yeah.
what? It requires a lot. But just to be on Zoom and to do email and other things, 8 is enough. But to do heavy duty predictions and forecasting, that's where the RAM is going to be of essence. What else? Okay. Any comments, my illustrious TA?
No, nothing specific.
Okay. So you want to do roll here?
Yeah, give me a second to let it load, and then I'll
Okay.
share my screen.
Okay, so we'll do attendance. Okay, so does everybody understand that a hardware? That's that chapter. And what's hardware is useless unless we have software. So you can think about it. And now when you think about all those chat GPT, when you have those billions of users and it comes up and it scans the internet so quickly, the entire internet, how does it do this so quickly? It's amazing. In English terms, right? In any language, right? That you can ask it easily to translate. You can use computer vision. All of this requires what? Heavy duty processing, heavy hardware processing. And if it's not on your end, it's going to be in all these what they call data centers, and that's why people are concerned because all these data centers require a lot of electricity and a lot of water and resources. And there's sometimes people are complaining about climate change, other things. So there's always trade-offs. So you ready?
Yes, the code is 5406. I'll put it in the chat and I'll share my screen.
Perfect. So we got that. And then anyone that wants to stay with us afterwards, you're welcome to do it. And ask me any questions that you have. And note, right, that we've made a change to also our first exam, making it at March 4th. Okay, you can stop sharing. Anastasia. Anastasia, you want to ask the other students if there's issues? Or...
Yeah, sure. Sully, do you have a question?
Yeah, I want to apologize. I wasn't able to finish assignment 1, and Anastasia, I wanted to talk to you about that. It was
Yeah.
because I had a funeral that I had to go to for my grandfather.
Wait a minute.
So